The golden hour of my life had arrived on delicate wings of hope, wrapped in layers of lace and love. I was Ella, the dreamer, the believer in fairy tales, a 28-year-old girl lost in the mesmerizing dance of romance. A wedding ring adorned my finger, glittering with promises and whispers of forever. And Marcus, my prince, my enigmatic lover, was the one who placed it there. Our story was like those found in weathered old books or heard in the songs of minstrels. Passionate, tender, and naive. A simple glance, a fleeting touch, and we were swept away into a world of our own. Marcus, with his disarming smile and careless charm, made my heart flutter and dance. I believed him to be my one true love, my forever. But lurking on the fringes of our love story was Emily, my sister. A mysterious figure, enchanting and elusive, she weaved her way through our lives with an unsettling grace. Her eyes, sharp and cunning, always seemed to be hiding a secret, something dark and untamed. Our wedding had been a grand affair, filled with laughter, music, and the clinking of champagne glasses. Emily was there, of course, her smile a little too sweet, her words dripping with an elegance that masked her true intentions. "Ella, dear, you look almost radiant today," she had said, her voice soft as silk, her eyes gleaming with a hidden mischief. "I trust Marcus has made you happy." "More than you could ever know," I had replied, the bliss of love making me blind to her concealed venom. Time passed in a blissful haze. Marcus and I settled into our new life, our love growing and blossoming like a flower nurtured by the spring rain. We danced through our days, hand in hand, hearts intertwined. But Emily was never far away, her presence a shadow, her words a faint echo that lingered in the corners of my mind. It was a dream, yes, but all dreams have a moment where they teeter on the edge of reality, where they threaten to crumble and fall. And as I would learn, even the most innocent dreams can turn into nightmares. The golden hour was fading, and the time was coming when I would have to wake up. The signs were there, in Marcus's distracted smiles, in Emily's sly glances, in the subtle shift of the winds. But I chose not to see them. I was Ella, the dreamer, the believer in fairy tales, lost in my innocent dreams, unaware that the storm was gathering, ready to sweep me away into a tale of betrayal, revenge, and awakening. I was about to learn that not all fairy tales have happy endings, but I didn't know that yet. All I knew was love, and all I believed in was Marcus. For now, that was enough. But the seeds of doubt had been planted, and they were beginning to take root. The dream was beautiful, but it couldn't last forever. The golden hour was ending, and the night was drawing near. The family home buzzed with anticipation, like a hive brimming with honeyed secrets. An anniversary celebration, a toast to love and longevity. But for me, it was more than that. It was a stage, a ballroom filled with dancers, each one hiding behind masks and waltzing to a hidden melody. And I, Ella, the dreamer, was at the center, swept up in the swirling dance of faces and whispers. My parents' love story was a legend in our family, a tale of devotion and enduring passion. Their anniversary was the perfect occasion to celebrate that love, to bask in the joy of family and friends. But in the midst of the laughter, the twinkling lights, and the clinking glasses, something else was brewing. Something darker, something that twisted in the shadows and beckoned with a sly smile. Emily was there, of course. Dressed in a gown that sparkled like the midnight sky, she floated through the crowd, her eyes aglow with mischief. Every now and then, our paths crossed, and each time she looked at me, I felt a chill, a foreboding that gnawed at the edges of my bliss. "Ella, darling, you're looking almost presentable tonight," she cooed, her voice dripping with insincerity. "A pity Marcus couldn't help you choose something more appealing." I laughed, but the sound was hollow, echoing strangely in the grand hall. "Well, Emily, not all of us can pull off your style." She smirked, her eyes narrowing just a fraction, and then she moved on, leaving a trail of her intoxicating perfume and a lingering sense of unease. Where was Marcus? I searched the crowd, my heart quickening with each passing moment. He was nowhere to be seen. His absence gnawed at me, a slow burn of doubt and confusion. His voice rang in my mind, detached and distant, a stark contrast to the warmth of his embrace. Was it my imagination, or was there something more? The night wore on, and the absence of my husband turned from a nagging worry to a consuming obsession. I found myself drifting from room to room, drawn by an unseen force, a desperate need to know, to understand. My heart pounded in my chest, my breath quickening as I approached a door, slightly ajar, soft murmurs escaping from within. Something was happening that threatened to shatter my innocent dreams. I paused, my hand trembling on the doorknob, torn between the desire to know and the fear of what I might find. The world around me seemed to hold its breath, waiting, watching, ready to plunge me into a nightmare. And then, with a courage I didn't know I possessed, I pushed the door open. The golden hour of my life had ended. The dream was over. My husband, my prince, my Marcus, was betraying me with my own sister. The room spun, the walls closing in, the floor tilting beneath me. Time stopped, the world turned to ice, and all I could see were their entwined bodies, their guilty faces, and the cruel reality of my shattered illusions. The fairy tale was a lie, and I, Ella, the dreamer, was left to pick up the pieces of my broken heart. The night had come, and the darkness was here to stay. A torrent of emotions swept over me, each wave crashing with a force that left me reeling, breathless. Anguish, betrayal, rage. They clawed at my heart, tearing at the fabric of my innocent dreams. The room was a whirlpool, spinning out of control, Marcus's words a dagger, cold and sharp. "Stupid prostitute," he spat, his face twisted with anger, his eyes devoid of the love I once knew. "What are you doing here? Get out!" His words cut through me, leaving me hollow, empty. I stumbled back, my legs giving way, the world a blur. Emily's laughter, cruel and mocking, rang in my ears, her satisfaction a poison that seeped into my soul. I fled, my feet carrying me through the halls, my mind numb, my heart aching. The party, once a celebration, had turned into a funeral, a mourning for the loss of love, of trust, of everything I held dear. My parents' home, a sanctuary of warmth and comfort, became my refuge. Tears flowed, unrestrained, my body racked with sobs, my soul shattered. I was Ella, the believer in fairy tales, but my prince had turned into a monster, my sister into a monster, my sister into a monster, my sister into a snake. Days turned into a haze, each moment a struggle, each breath a reminder of my broken dreams. Friends and family offered words of comfort, but their voices were distant, their touch cold. I was adrift, lost in a sea of despair, my anchor gone, my compass broken. Then, a call, a voice from the past, a lifeline in the darkness. "Ella!" Marcus's mother's voice trembled over the phone, her words heavy with concern. "Marcus has been arrested. Possession and use of substances. He wants to see you. He needs your help." The news hit me like a thunderbolt, jolting me from my stupor, igniting a spark of something new, something dangerous. Marcus, my betrayer, my deceiver, in trouble, in need. The irony was not lost on me. I listened, my mind racing, my heart pounding. Revenge, a word I never thought would cross my mind, began to take shape, to grow, to become a force of its own. "I'll see him," I said, my voice steady, my resolve firm. The decision was made, the path clear. I was no longer Ella, the naive girl, lost in love. I was Ella, the avenger, the warrior, the one who would rise from the ashes of betrayal. The golden hour had ended. The dream had turned into a nightmare, but I was awake now. My eyes open, my heart strong. The time for tears was over. The time for revenge had come. Marcus and Emily had shattered my illusions, but they had also awakened a strength I never knew I possessed. I was ready. The storm had come, and I would face it, head on. The night was dark, but I was no longer afraid. The stars were out, and they were guiding me, leading me to a destiny of my own making. I was Ella, the dreamer, the believer, the avenger. And I was just getting started. The police station was a place of stern faces and cold corridors, a far cry from the warmth of love or the sanctuary of home. As I walked through its unfeeling halls, the air thick with tension and anticipation, I felt a new sense of purpose, a transformation from the naive girl who once danced through life to the warrior who once danced through life to the warrior who now stalked her prey. Marcus awaited me, his eyes dull, his face pale, a mere shadow of the prince who once swept me off my feet. His arrogance, his careless charm had crumbled, replaced by desperation and fear. "Ella," he rasped, his voice hoarse, his hands gripping the bars that separated us. "You've got to help me. Your father can get me out of here. Tell him to do it. Tell him I need you." His words were a plea, a cry for help, but they fell on deaf ears. The love that once bound us was gone, replaced by a seething rage, a desire for justice, for revenge. "You deserve this," I said, my voice cold, my eyes unflinching. "You betrayed me. You betrayed me. You destroyed everything. And now you want my help?" He faltered, his bravado fading, his true nature exposed. "Ella, please. I made a mistake. I never meant to hurt you. I never meant to hurt you. I need you." His words were empty, hollow, a pathetic attempt to regain what he had so callously thrown away. I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw nothing but a broken man, a fool who had played with fire and been consumed by it. "You lost me the moment you chose her over me," I said, my voice steady, my heart resolute. "You lost me when you called me names and kicked me out of our house. You are nothing to me now. Enjoy your new life. Marcus, you've earned it." I turned and walked away, leaving him standing there, a lost soul, in a world of his own making. The path of the Avenger was a lonely one, filled with shadows and whispers. But it was a path I walked with determination and pride. Marcus had broken my heart. Marcus had broken my heart, but he had also awakened a strength I never knew I possessed. I was no longer the dreamer, the believer in fairy tales. I was Ella, the Avenger, the warrior, the survivor. Emily's treachery, her malice, her deceit were now laid bare, her true nature revealed. She had played her game, and she had lost. I would see to that. The days that followed were a whirlwind of action, of plans and plots, of new alliances and old loyalties. I reached out to those I trusted, those who saw Emily for what she was, those who would stand by me in my quest for justice. The battle lines were drawn, the pieces in place, the stage set for a showdown that would shake the very foundations of our family, our lives. I was ready. The night was dark, but I was no longer afraid. The storm had come, and I was its master. I was Ella, the avenger, the warrior, the stormbringer. And the time for reckoning had come. The days turned into a game of chess, each move calculated, each step planned with meticulous precision. My family's name, once a beacon of love and trust, had been tainted by betrayal and deceit. But I, Ella, the wounded dreamer turned avenger, was not about to let the dark shadows win. Emily's smirk, her sly glances, her venomous words, they were all weapons in her arsenal, but they were no match for the truth, for the justice that now burned within me. I gathered evidence, sought allies, built my case with the determination of a general leading her troops into battle. Marcus, the broken prince, languished in his cell, his pleas and cries falling on deaf ears. He was a pawn, a casualty of his own folly. The reckoning was coming, and it was a storm of my own making. My parents, once oblivious to the undercurrents that flowed beneath the surface, were now drawn into the vortex, their eyes opened to the reality of Emily's treachery, Marcus's betrayal. "Are you sure about this, Ella?" my mother asked, her voice filled with concern, her eyes clouded with doubt. "I've never been more sure about anything in my life," I replied, my voice firm, my resolve unshaken. "Emily and Marcus did this to us. They brought this storm upon themselves. Now they must face the consequences." The day of reckoning arrived. A family gathering turned tribunal. A reckoning of sins and betrayals. Emily, dressed in her usual finery, her eyes glittering with malice, was the picture of confidence. But her mask was about to be shattered, her true face revealed. "I've called you all here today," I began, my voice ringing clear, my heart pounding with anticipation, to reveal a truth that has been hidden for too long, a truth that has torn our family apart, a truth that has torn our family apart, a truth that must be faced. The room fell silent, the air thick with tension, the faces around me a mix of curiosity, fear, and anticipation. "Marcus and Emily," I continued, my eyes locked on theirs. "You betrayed me. You betrayed us all. Your affair, your lies, your deceit have brought us to this point. Today, you will answer for what you've done." The room erupted, voices raised in disbelief, anger, confusion. Emily's face turned ashen, her eyes wide with shock. Marcus, who had been released on bail, looked like a cornered animal, his bravado gone, his true nature exposed. "You have no proof," Emily spat, her voice trembling with rage. I smiled, a cold, determined smile, and produced the evidence, the undeniable proof of their betrayal, their lies. The room fell silent once more, the reality of their sins sinking in, the weight of their guilt a burden they could no longer escape. The reckoning had come, and there was no turning back. The fallout was swift, the consequences severe. Emily was cast out, her name a byword for deceit and treachery. Marcus, his reputation in ruins, faced legal battles, his dreams shattered, his life a mere shadow of its former glory. And I, Ella, the naive dreamer, emerged from the storm stronger, wiser, my illusions shattered, but my spirit unbroken. I had faced the darkness, I had fought the battle, and I had won. The night was dark no more. The stars were shining, the path clear, the future bright. With the storm of betrayal and vengeance settled, a calm had returned to my life, a peace that seemed foreign yet comforting. The family gatherings, once filled with hidden whispers and veiled glances, were now gatherings of solidarity, reflections of a bond that had weathered the storm and emerged stronger. I had been through the fire, the crucible of pain and revenge, and I had emerged as a new person. My innocence lost, but my wisdom gained. Ella, the naive dreamer, had become Ella, the enlightened survivor. My relationship with my sister was irrevocably broken. The ties that once bound us severed by her betrayal and deceit. Emily had vanished from our lives, a ghost of her former self, a symbol of the darkness that had nearly consumed us all. Marcus, too, had become a distant memory, a lesson learned, a mistake forgiven, but never forgotten. He had lost everything, his dreams shattered, his life a ruin, a casualty of his own arrogance and folly. But life is a river, ever flowing, ever changing. And I had learned to swim with its currents, to embrace its twists and turns, to embrace its twists and turns, to find joy in its lessons. A new love had blossomed, a love that was pure, sincere, a love that promised not fairy tales but reality, not illusions but truth. David, a friend who had stood by me, who had seen me through the storm, had become more than a friend. A partner, a companion, a lover. Our love was not the love of storybooks, not the love of fantasies, but the love of life, of experience, of understanding. We had seen each other at our best and our worst, and we had chosen to embrace it all, to build something real, something lasting. "I love you, Ella," David whispered one starlit night, his eyes filled with warmth, his hand entwined with mine. "Not for what you were, but for what you were, but for what you've become. You are strong, beautiful, wise. You are my love, my life, my—" His words were a balm to my soul, a confirmation of my journey, a validation of my transformation. I had found love not in the arms of a prince, but in the embrace of a true partner, a man who saw me for who I truly was. "I love you too, David," I replied, my heart full, my eyes brimming with tears of joy. "You are my rock, my anchor, my love. Together we will build a life that is ours, a life that is real." And so a new chapter had begun, a chapter filled with love, trust, and understanding. A chapter that promised a future not of fairy tales, but of reality, not of illusions, but of truth. I was Ella, the dreamer turned warrior, the believer turned survivor. I had faced the darkness, I had weathered the storm, and I had found my light, my love, my life. The night was gone, the dawn had come, and I was ready to embrace it all, to live, to love, to be. For I was Ella, and I was home.